Hi everyone, welcome to the next lesson, which is all going to be all about getting a little bit more exact about how we do things in terms of styling and in terms of both the settings and also using a thing called the CSS box model. Okay, so to first start off, what I'm on is another website called Azoic, and so far I took this button and we styled it in a previous lesson and to get the effects that they had there. Now, you might remember we had to guess the colors and we had to guess a few other things. But there is actually a way of getting precise information on exactly what the setting is to make your life a lot easier if you like a style. So, for example, if you like this style of website and you wanted to take its styling and modify it, but basically use similar styling, there's a way to actually access that information. So on any website, if you just right-click in white space where there's just not much around, you can get a thing called Inspect. And so what Inspect does is it allows you to have a look at the settings. So if we see this little arrow button up here, if we click on that, and then we can click on different items to be able to find out a little bit about their settings and all that sort of thing. So if we want to do that now, what we can do is we can see that we get the exact color. So in this case here, you'll see that the background color is #5CA731. Now, that probably doesn't mean a lot, but and the numbers over here, if we click on there, we can get the number over here. Now, what that is another type of color reference that is not RGB. So if we wanted to use RGB to get this color reference, what we can do is that we can type in, it's a type of color called hex. And if you want to do a conversion between hex to get RGB to get the precise color, you can basically just search up hex to RGB, paste in the value and get it to convert, and it will give you the RGB references to give you the exact color. So that means that that's a really easy way to exactly match the colors to what you want. So if you like the style and the color of something, that's how you can do it. Now, the other thing that this Inspect also allows you to do is it allows you to get precisely the settings that have been used. So I've already clicked on this particular item, so all of this information that's here is relating to that styling. So for something like this, what you'll see is that there is a thing, you'll see there's all this settings on background color, radius, so border, bottom radius, left, right, top. So that means that they're using, how we're using border radius to round the corners. Well, we know the value is 6. So we know the color value, and we also know cursor as to pointer. So these are all the things that we're very familiar with. We can also get the exact font. We can also get the font size. We can get the precise font weight. And so we can pretty much bang on produce exactly what is here. So that is just, so as I said, really easy way to get the information. Now, the one thing we do want to highlight is that the way that the people have structured, that designed the site, structured their control of the positioning is using a thing called CSS box model. So this is the CSS box model, and there is a screenshot of this in the website. So basically what that means is when you put in a button, that value there is just whatever the space is that is taken up by the text. So that would be basically you put in your button, put in get started, and that's the amount of space that is taken up by those words, and pretty much that's all that will be taken up. Now, the next layer outside, which is now highlighted on the screen, so in slightly light green, you'll see it's now in light green around the outside, is what's called padding. So what padding is it's basically spacing within the element. So, i.e., if we want to put spacing within the element, that means that we can put a pixel, and they've used 13.2, which means that if we want to have exactly their settings, we can use 13.2 on this side, and they've done 13.2 all the way around. So that is basically the spacing within this case within the green color away from the text. So it's within the element. And then we've got border. Now in this case they haven't got a border, but if you were to put a border setting in, and you could, let's say 1, you'd have a value of 1 sitting here. So that's basically how wide the lines are that go around the outside. And then the last setting is what's called margin. Now we've used margin previously, and what margin is it is basically the spacing between elements. So on the outside of this element here, if we want to create space, then we can use margin to push it left or right. So this is a far better and more accurate way than just putting height and width. Okay, so if we want to fix up our previous Visual Basic Code, we can use these elements. So if, sorry, I'm going the wrong place. Okay, so if we have a look at, oops, if you can get this back, let's open with a live server. It's thinking. There we go. Okay, so if we wanted to get precisely that color, we can fix up our margins precisely. So what we're going to do is I'm going to put in another button into our another Get Started button, and we'll style that using the information that we got from the website. And we'll just call it Getting Started Button 1. So if we update that now, you should get a button as we get started here. So if we do the same styling process that we did last time, okay, and we'll just take a copy of that. We can get precisely the same styling that they had there. Okay. So, and now the reason I'm doing this is so you're very clear on all of the how to assign padding, how to assign borders, which you already know, and how to assign margin. So the first thing is we wanted the color. Now the color we got precisely off the website before, and this was this setting here, so we can paste that in. So, and that's going to be the background color, not the text color. So we'll do that first, and then the background color is what we got. Background color. Okay, and we can go back here, and we can click save. Whoops, wrong button. Try again. Okay, and then we've got our precise color. However, I have made an error with the syntax, so let's fix that up. And there we go. Okay. Now the next thing they did is they had padding. Now padding was the stuff that was inside the text, and you might remember that they had a setting of 13.2 all the way around. So if you wanted to set individual padding left or right or whatever, you can, or if you want to just assign the one value all the way around, which was 13.2, then that's how we can do it. Okay. And then we have border. In this case, if we wanted to assign a single value, which would be the next layer on the outside, so we have our text on the inside, then our padding, then our border, which in this case we don't have any. Okay, and they also had a setting, I think it was an 18 font size. Which we can do. Oops. Control yes. Okay, and then the next thing we needed was that they had a bold or a font weight of 600. So you can set the font weight by things like bold, but you can also give it a number. So there is more precise control than just saying I want it bold or I don't want it bold. So I've forgotten to put that in, so let's fix that up. So they had 600 as the setup, I think. So if we then, okay, and so we're getting quite close to the button, and then they had rounding as well. So that would be rounding. The command on the rounding was border radius, and they had a setting of 6 pixels. Okay, and there we go, and that should be Control S, and then we get our nice rounded things. So now we've got a button which is pretty much exactly, apart from getting the exact font, pretty much the same as what was on that website. And then the last thing, which again is just purely to show you that if we wanted to have some more spacing between the items, we can use margin, which is the value that is outside of the box. So that's, if we had let's say a margin going all the way around, okay, and save it. Okay, so we've got a margin, so it's pushed it out by 20 here, 20 here, 20 here, and 20 here. That's the effect of margin. Now, if we go into our own site, we can also inspect our own site just to show you how these values appear in the. So if we look at our, pick our item here, okay, and we go to computed, you can see that we've set it at 20, we don't have a border, and then we have 13.2, and then we have the value inside, which is due to the text. So basically, this box model is the way that you should actually be adjusting the height and the variation of the item, because it gives much more precise control. So in the at the end of this lesson, there is some exercises which are a little bit more challenging. So these are little videos, and we'll just play the video quickly. And let me just, this site's on preview at the moment, bear with me. That are a little bit more challenged, that may force you to have a little bit of a think about it. There we go. So what we want to get you to do is do the stretch and the 3D transition. Okay, so you'll have to use, so you see that we get the stretch, we get a change in the size, and 3D shadow causes a 3D effect. So have a go at those. They're a little bit more challenging, and make sure you're using the box model to be able to do that. Good luck, and we'll catch you in the next lesson. Cheers.